Hey everyone, it's Christine here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to this series on trusting yourself and developing your intuition and psychic abilities. So we've already talked about why trust is the key element in strengthening and developing your psychic abilities as well as your intuition. We talked about awareness and then getting in touch with our feelings, both within our emotional landscape and also our physical landscape here in this physical world and also in the spiritual world. So today we are going to look at cognitive reframing. Remember last week I asked, or maybe I discussed, but I also asked you all to consider journaling when you have these nudges, what you're feeling, what feelings come up, etc. Think about all of those fearful, anxious thoughts that may come up, especially if this is new and perhaps depending on the clairs that you have, if this brings up any particular emotion that you do not feel comfortable with. So for some, if you see spirits, if you're clairvoyant and you see certain images or even hear as well, things that are not of this world, that may be very unsettling to you and you may feel it in the form of anxiety or fear. And so a lot of it boils down to just the unknown and not knowing what it is that's going on, because no one else can or could potentially verify what it is you're experiencing, and it could sometimes just be you. And sometimes that in itself, you're like, what's going on? And so when we have those thoughts, sometimes that can also hinder our development and strengthening of our psychic abilities. Because when we constantly repeat, I'm never going to be clairvoyant, or fill in the blank, whatever clair it is you're working on, or I'm never going to follow my intuition, I don't trust myself, why is it that everyone knows what to do except me, I do not want to see spirits, I do not want to see dead people, I do not want to hear anything, especially if it's a clair that you are developing, or it's a gift or something innate. And so when we have that constant barrage of thoughts and things we're saying aloud to ourselves, in essence these self-limiting beliefs about our psychic abilities in general, and intuition and the things associated with them, that's going to hamper our own ability to really get into those shoes, to really strengthen those skills. And so there's a lot of unpacking as well here. Some of you may want to spend some time really getting in touch, and that's something I didn't even consider. This is just coming up now, but I'll add it here since this was on the go. Some of you may want to consider really journaling a few questions. You know, what are my thoughts about psychics, psychic abilities, intuition? What was my first experience with this? How did it make me feel? Did I experience anything negative or positive? Because it allows you to look at your relationship with all of this, because this is something that you yourself are going to be working on. And so sometimes we can absorb and pick up other frames, other points of views, and other ways of thinking surrounding this topic of, you know, psychic skills, psychic abilities, and the different clairs. And it could really almost do a disservice for us, because it doesn't allow us to really think for ourselves and realize, well, what does this really mean for me? Because some people have the idea that people that are psychic are charlatans and they like to cheat people of money, and they're just all fake. And yeah, you're going to find fake practitioners in every line of work. Everyone, you're gonna see some level of corruption anywhere, no matter what field. That's just the nature of this world and what's happening, and that's part of what they're going through in their own soul journeys, right? But you can take some of those thoughts that you're having, maybe you're fearing anxiety because you don't want to see a particular image, but you can reframe that. And that's something that I did, which is why I'm bringing this up. I remember I started my clairaudience. I started hearing things about 2.5 years ago, and I would hear things on and off throughout my life, but I was like, whatever. I didn't pay attention to it. But things started really ramping up about 2 years ago. And I remember I heard tribal music when I was talking to a friend, and I thought I was just losing it. I'm like, what in the world? I thought it was my phone. There was nothing on my phone, nothing on her end. She looked at me concerned. She's like, are you okay, Christine? And I said, yes, I heard music. I heard language I didn't recognize, but I immediately knew its origin, and I knew what was happening. And so I was just patient, and I realized because it was someone unknown, I couldn't figure out who at that moment, that provoked some anxiety for me. And so I reframed it, and I just gave gratitude at that moment. And anytime I was working on this, I would give gratitude and thank my own spirit guides and my own spiritual team for my psychic gifts, for helping me develop them and strengthen them, especially this particular one at that time, my clairaudience. And I felt a lot more calm and at peace. And when I really dug deep, my issue for me was trying to discern where the voices come. So for me, it was like an unknown element that was provoking the fear. Like, where did it come? And sometimes we don't know, and we don't need to know. But we do get the message that's being sent to us. Some of us will develop rapport with some of these messages and also beings that are helping us receive this information. And that allowed me, as I continued on my own journey, to really trust more in what I was getting and also become a little bit less anxious over time. With clairvoyance, for example, many people that see images, or perhaps those that may be psychic mediums, some of them do actually see spirits materialize. Just like 3D humans, they see spirits, and that can be upsetting for some and scary. And so there's a lot more to go into there. I may need another video on that, because that also goes into your fears, your belief systems surrounding death, loss, the afterlife, and all of those types of topics that some people may not want to delve into, perhaps paranormal. And so ultimately, what I did was reframe some of these negative ways of thinking with my skills. I remember my dad talking. My dad is clairvoyant, although he just brushes it off. He's like, yeah, I just had a dream. And he's got premonitions. He receives a lot of messages from visitations from loved ones and premonitions through those dreams. And he's nonchalant about it. And I realized it was his ease and his openness and the way he was able to be very open to his guides that allowed him to be a clear channel for this. Meanwhile, I was like, I want to see this. And I realized I was blocking my own way. So I started shifting the narrative, right? Kind of like a recognitive structuring, an element of cognitive behavioral therapy, where you shift the way that you think through your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions as well, and then ultimately your behavior. And so anytime you get some fearful or anxious thoughts, just again, be aware of them, notice them, and see how you can flip the script. See how you can turn that around in a way that will allow you to make progress in your journey. Acknowledge what it is you're feeling, because it's okay. And to continue trusting yourself. I'll also add a note too when it comes to anything that may be a little bit anxiety provoking for you. You could always connect to your guides, to your ancestors, whomever is part of your spiritual team, I'll say, and you can let them know what it is that you don't or do want to see, harness, etc. And you can give them signs too. And if you want guidance on that or a video, let me know down below. But that's really the essence of this, is really reframing all of those anxious, fearful fears into something more positive and something that will allow you to continue that forward movement towards strengthening your skills. Because the negative framework and mindset, again, they're tied to our stories, our beliefs, and the way we've grown up, and sometimes too the cultural and societal norms surrounding this topic of psychic development and intuition and many things related to that. It gives us, or perhaps it could bias the way we have learned things and the way we think. And this could be also too, if this is something that you just never were interested in, or something you never really had a connection to, and all of a sudden you're like, what in the world? I'm starting to hear things. And it could be really, I'll just say surprising. And so I like to create affirmations as well when I flip the script. And a lot of times I remember about 2 years ago when my psychic abilities really started to strengthen and heighten pretty rapidly, I would take a lot of hikes, and I continue hiking a lot. And I would just always give gratitude to my spiritual team, to the universe, to God, for my gifts and for always helping me strengthen them. And it requires a lot of patience too. So patience is key. I also want to say start with one gift. Perhaps I should have said this in the beginning. It can be a little bit overwhelming when you have several gifts that come in or that you want to work on, and you're juggling a lot of balls. So I would suggest focusing on one and really harnessing that before embracing another or cultivating and nurturing another. So I hope this video helped. I feel like I kind of went into several different tangents I did not anticipate. But again, this is all part of a process. It's not something that you may have done by the end of the week. This is a continuous iterative process where you're going to practice this, where you're going to become aware and notice, because this is going to strengthen that trust nugget, that little bond between you and yourself, and ultimately a higher power source, divine, God, because that's all tied to the psychic abilities that you have and your intuition, of course. So thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you got something out of this. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below. Love interacting with you. I'd love to hear about your own psychic journeys, how you learned to develop them and harness them. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.